you can work 20 years and make $10 million a year, and it still won't even pale into comparison in the money that I've made in the last 10 years building this one company.
Luca Netz, the internet money expert, worth over $100 million.
Everybody in this room that wants to stay ahead of the curve should be spending some real time every single day learning this stuff. I mean, this is super brain power like the world and society and humanity has never seen. This is going to be the difference between the people that I think really partake in the wealth transfer that's about to happen and the people that don't. You can be a kid, 15 years old. You can change your life tomorrow. That is the golden goose right here, right now.
I don't really get it.
They're printing too much money. It is actually a scam.
Ultimately, the government dictate what we do. And if they want
well,
to
the government can't stop this.
I just don't know.
I want to spend so much time convincing them otherwise, because I promise you, if you don't switch your mindset, you're going to be incredibly regretful. If that was me in this moment in time listening to this interview, I'd be like, what is he talking about? And I'm going to double down on this and I'm going to give it a shot. One of the greatest opportunities, I think, for young entrepreneurs, especially ones that are not full with capital, is this era of organic marketing. I mean, organic TikTok and organic Instagram Reels has made more millionaires with zero cost than I've ever seen before. It is a golden moment in the history of wealth creation for young entrepreneurs, whether you're young or old, just entrepreneurs in general. The internet marketing here is insane, that if you have a video that hits the algorithm with your link in the bio, you could make millions of dollars.
I can
overnight.
echo that. That's the only reason we're actually here today, because we cracked short form creation. So it's such a big thing.
I mean, and not only for, e-commerce entrepreneurs, but for service providers, for content creators,
Personal brands.
personal brands. It is the most insane thing that anybody's ever seen, I promise. And it's not going to last that long, because the reason why it's not going to last that long is it's taking so much money from the social networks. They've got to be at a round table and at a conference room, because if you told me that you had $100,000 budget to market and you said where to spend it, I would tell you to spend zero of it on paid marketing and 100,000 of all of it on organic creators and content. And that means $100,000 out of Facebook and TikTok's pocket and $100,000 into the creator's pocket. How long that lasts, I don't know. Now, it's great for growth of the platform and it's great for a slew of things, but eventually they're going to try to flip that back into your direction. But right now, it's a huge moment. And I know the guys who blew up, Andrew Tate and a bunch of others. The idea of content distribution, I mean, just think about Andrew Tate. You guys know how Andrew Tate really blew up, right? Like the mastermind behind the distribution of his content. Now, on one side of it, you have the polarizing figure. You have the man, and his opinions, whether you agree with it or not is up for you. But the machine of cutting up those opinions and distributing them across thousands of accounts, leveraging AI and a slew of other tooling.
You literally couldn't get away from him. You're just scrolling. Yep, Andrew Tate, every couple of scrolls.
If you think that wasn't manufactured, you're a fool. I mean, I've been following Andrew since he had 15,000 followers. He had the Bugatti and yet nobody knew who he was. I mean, you know what I mean? And there's a person who came into that and said, I'm going to build you the machine. And all it did is it just took one viral video to go viral and be like, okay, well, how do we do this more? And then it happened again and again and again. And then you just do it. And it is applicable to so many. I mean, I'm surprised there's probably a 10, 15, $20 million contract here, but why doesn't somebody go and do this for one of the presidential candidates? Go take all that presidential lobbying money and go put the machine's actually not that hard to build. Well, I'm in the process of building our own internal machine for this process because I have Instagram Reels with 50 million views. Well, I should be distributing that 100 different times. I talked to my friend who was recently on your podcast. His name was Luca. He said, it's not about how much content you have. It's about how well your content is distributed. It's just about the distribution mechanism. How many eyeballs can you get? Andrew Tate's a perfect example of that. I can't tell you how many e-commerce brands and e-commerce entrepreneurs' lives have been changed because of it. Gaming is a perfect example. You think those Minecraft being on the bottom half of those, you think that is random?
We do that too, yeah.
Yeah. But there's so much thought to that. And then the gaming platforms and their go-to-market strategies, this is the best place to spend money. And the beauty of it is you don't have to spend any money. I'm saying that from a brand perspective. You can be a kid, 15 years old, that could change your life tomorrow with the right product, the right angle. I don't know how to cut these videos up, but they do. And that is the golden goose right here, right now. Especially if you're social media savvy, you've got some drive in you. If that was me in this moment in time listening to this interview, I'd be like, what is he talking about? Or I know what he's talking about, and I'm going to double down on this, and I'm going to give it a shot.
And as you said, that clock's ticking because it won't be
No.
like this forever. I mean, we saw the organic reach on Facebook a few years ago, crazy. Now you can't, it is fully pay to play. You cannot do it. And with TikTok, it's already getting more saturated. But the reason it was so great in 2020 is because there were so many viewers, but so little creators. So the organic reach was crazy. Of course, as more people come onto these platforms, that organic reach is going to go down and down and down. So there's 2, 3, 4 years left of this, and then they're going to start asking for money again.
Yep.
Luca built his fortune with e-commerce, and this opportunity is just getting bigger. As of 2024, sales are expected to reach $6.3 trillion. But before you click off this video thinking starting a business and selling products online is only something tech-savvy people can do, what if I was to tell you that you can use an AI tool that will do all the hard work for you? On Hostinger's AI website builder, all you have to do is answer 3 questions, and they generate the website in seconds. Hostinger is a top global web hosting and web creation brand. They allow you to create a website and start accepting orders with no coding or design experience. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if I don't like the website Hostinger's AI tool creates for me? Well, no problem. You can just customize it further with the drag and drop editor tool and fine tune it. Hostinger also offers an AI logo maker to create a high quality logo and an AI heat map to predict visitor behavior and secure more sales. And the best part is it's super affordable, costing less than $3 per month, and even includes a free domain, which often costs over $20 alone. So why wait? Create your website today by going to hostinger.com/strikeitbig and use the promo code StrikeItBig for a 10% discount.
I don't want to move the conversation on too early, but I feel like we need to address why he's just holding a toy on the podcast. I almost feel bad that he's holding it.
And Tom as well.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
This is the current baby right here, Pudgy Penguins.
So what is it and how does this work?
Pudgy Penguins is a Web3 IP company. Our goal is to build the world's next great IP, leveraging NFT technology and Web3 community to do it. From our thought process, NFTs kind of got a bad rap with the big run. A lot of people didn't really realize what this was. And to me, this is digital ownership. This is the vehicle to participate in a brand. Today, when you buy a movie at Disney or consume a piece of Star Wars or a piece of Star Trek, you are nothing but a consumer. With Pudgy Penguins, this thing that I hold in my hand is an NFT that's owned by somebody. And every time I sell one of these in Walmart, he gets a royalty in perpetuity. It's a reinvention on how IP has been built. A new era of brand and participant away from the current era of brand and consumer. And I'm just trying to reinvent the stigma that is around NFTs. I truly believe this is the future, and I'm just playing my part in writing that story.
And did this start as this little guy that we've got here, or was it digital only at first?
It's digital only. So I actually bought the business. I didn't create it. The business was started in summer of 2021 by a couple of 18 and 19-year-olds who just saw the trend in NFTs and said, let's make a project. Now, the Pudgy Penguins went viral. They were printed in the New York Times. They were all over CNBC on the Today Show. I mean, it had just created a culture that was bar none and was one of the huge reasons why NFTs ended up having that huge awareness. I mean, it was CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, and Pudgy Penguins. As CryptoPunks and Bored Apes did their things, Pudgy Penguins, because a bunch of 18-year-olds started it, didn't end up going the places that they wanted it to go. I bought it about 20 months ago for $2.5 million because I said, well, this community, this culture, this IP coming off of the backs of Gel Blaster, which was North America's fastest growing toy company. I said, well, this has all the ingredients to be a smash hit. All I got to do is buy it and put in some work. And here we are today.
Now, there's going to be some people that, don't get me wrong, they're very cute. And even the NFTs, the original NFTs are very cute. But some people are going to go, well, what's the point? So why would people want to buy a Pudgy Penguin NFT?
It's access to the community. I mean, there's, if I have a Pudgy Penguin PFP, there's billionaires that I can reach out to who have Pudgy Penguin PFPs who I can go message, right? Like, how cool is that? There's a level of camaraderie. If I'm in New York or Paris or Tokyo or Seoul, if I have a Pudgy penguin, there's other Pudgy penguins there. They take care of me. I mean, I was just in Malay. You saw my Asia World Tour. We talked about it briefly. I mean, I went to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, Singapore, Seoul, Tokyo, and I got treated like a VIP extraordinaire. And others do the same. It's not just me because I'm the CEO. There's a ton of community members who do that. The ability to believe that this is going to be the world's next great character brand and owning one of the NFTs will give you access to make products and to be a part of that ecosystem. At the end of the day, we do the hard part. We are the marketing of the brand. If you own a Pudgy penguin, you can do what you want with it as long as it's within our brand guidelines. So there's a slew of upside, right? And do you believe in a successful NFT and all the things that come with that? You get other NFTs and then you can sell those. And if you really understand the model, there's just so much meat to it. It just got kind of thrown under the rug in the sense that, you had Bored Apes, they had their meteoric rise and a little bit of a fall, but these things are so much more than that. It's digital ownership, it's digital accessibility. Remove the veil of what you've been told or what you've seen from the media. If you really peel back the layers, I think this is going to be a technology that changes everything. You see AI running rampant. How are you going to verify what's real and what's not? NFTs are going to be the things that do that.
So just to clarify, so if I own a Pudgy Penguin NFT and you sell one of these, I get a kickback for you selling that physical item.
If you're the one that I turn into a toy. But that doesn't need to be a toy. It can be, we have a collaboration with a water bottle company. We have, skate decks coming out. We have a slew of product lines. And so when I need to use a Pudgy Penguin character for those collaborations, I go to the NFT holders and I say, I'm going to use your IP or your character on these initiatives. Or you can have your Pudgy Penguin that you own, and then there's a bunch of people that do this and say, well, the Pudgy Penguin team is doing the hard part. We're getting billions of impressions and views every single month. And so why don't I go create my own product line? Because as we all know, being entrepreneurs, the hardest part about, making a product is driving the demand and the awareness. Well, we do the hard part. You have the Pudgy Penguin. You can go make, Pudgy Penguin pillows. And because the community is so big and the brand is so big, there's a likelihood that when you sell your Pudgy pillows on Amazon that people will buy it.
It's interesting because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like NFTs have this bad name because a lot of them were a load of bollocks. I mean, I feel like that's pretty obvious at this point that people didn't deliver. But it does seem to me, on the surface level from what I'm hearing, that you are actually delivering on it. And it's an NFT project that's actually come into fruition.
What would you say to the people that still think NFT, scam, same thing? Obviously, I don't think that, but there will be a lot of people in the comments saying that.
See, I kind of do. I'm not saying you, but I mean, in general, when I hear NFT, I just think bollocks.
I don't think they're one and the same, but if they have a use case, this sounds like it's actually got a reason to buy it, with the royalties and the membership club and all of that stuff.
I guess just for me, it's every NFT had a use case though, but it all just turned out to not be true. So I just think, for me, I don't know, just crypto and NFTs and stuff, I don't really get it.
I think there's a layer of accountability there, right? It's like when I buy a stock, there's this guy I look up to. I think he's great. He runs a podcast called the All In Podcast. One of the guys, Chamath, he got a lot of shit the other day because he was promoting a bunch of SPACs. I probably lost like $2-3 million on these SPACs.
Because of this guy?
Yeah, because I believed I believed in the SPACs that he was launching, and
the other day you lost $2 million.
Well, over the course of 6 months, he just got a lot of shit of it for the other day, okay. And I was addressing it online. I was thinking to myself, well, I don't blame Chamath for me losing $2 million on the stocks, and I do not no longer believe in SPACs and the SPAC vehicle for launching stocks. Right? At some point, you have to look yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, if I think NFTs are a scam, I might have bought them for $100. They went to $500, and I bag held and round tripped it all the way to zero. Was it a scam because I all of a sudden lost money, or was it a scam because I truly believe it was a scam? Now, some of them were true scams, and others I think warrant some level of accountability. I think it depends in the light in which you look at it. But when you look at crypto and when you look at NFTs, you have to understand really the fundamental purpose of what this stuff achieves. I'll give you an anecdote that I think is really important. My grandma was dying in France, and I tried to send her some money. By the time the money hit, it took about 7 days, and she was too ill to really use the money the way that she wanted. And unfortunately, she died a few days later. What had happened is I'd sent her $50,000, and by the time it got to her, about 4% was taken, and it took about 7 days to get to her. right? Why, the ability for you and I to speak today is a basic human right. The same way that you and I should be able to interact and socialize on the internet, it's a basic human right. Another basic human right is the ability for me to send you money and you get the money quite quickly without somebody taking a bunch of fees in between that. It's a basic human right. That's why this stuff is going to win, because you shouldn't have to have somebody between you and your money. Same thing with my digital assets. Well, you might think to yourself, well, okay, that's the bull case for crypto. That makes sense. But what is the case for my NFTs? I'm telling you guys this, and you can see it, and don't take my word for it. Take Facebook changing their name to Meta and Apple getting into VR. The world of physical and digital will merge and they will come. And the same way that this t-shirt on my back that I spent $30 for is mine is the same way that the t-shirt that I buy in the metaverse or the character avatar that I buy, it should be mine. Right? Today, when you buy a Fortnite skin, it is not yours.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That changes that, and so it hasn't been fully merged yet. Those two worlds haven't been fully combined, but when they do, it's going to be predicated, and your ownership is going to be dictated by, is it an NFT or is it not? Because if it's not, you're really just giving your money as a 100% margin to the company that you're giving it to, versus if I buy an NFT for $30 or $100 or $1,000, I can go take it into Facebook's world, which is this new world. And then I can go take it into Apple's world. It is mine, right? The same way that I own this t-shirt on my back. And so though there's a stigma, and I'm happy to debate this for you. For some reason, that wasn't a sufficient answer. It's looking at the fact that you have to be able to own these things, and blockchain and the idea of this public, transparent ledger seems to be the only solution as to how you can actually digitally own things. Whether it's in the future metaverse, whether it's using it as a status symbol or an anchor of camaraderie to community as a profile picture. They're deeper than this. And you also have to understand, my last point to this is people are lonely, dude. I can tell you, I'm thankful to have a network of people that love me and that I interact with. But I have people really close to me in my immediate family who are incredibly lonely, and they live and thrive on the internet. And there's no better way to identify a person that has like-minded interests than, if I own a Pudgy penguin and I see another person with a Pudgy penguin, I'm like, well, we kind of like the same thing, so we might be friends. Or if I own a Bored Ape and he owns a Bored Ape, or he owns a CryptoPunk, we might have the same interests because they kind of have an umbrella of who those people are, right? And then it just makes making friends a little bit easier. And I know that sounds cliche and that's corny, but people kill themselves every single day because they don't have somebody. And I think it's almost like a banner on my back, like, hey, I'm cool.
Yeah, I guess I'm not smart enough to debate you on crypto when it comes to crypto. I'm not switched on with it at all. But what I would say to the point that you made about your nan or your grandma is that if I want to send Curtis or Tom 50 grand now from my UK bank to their UK bank, they're going to get it immediately.
It's not about
the
UK bank,
Whereas,
though.
yeah, I guess for international transfers, I wouldn't.
No, even with a UK bank, if you wanted to send 50k, you wouldn't be able to because there'd be limits on your account. And I've had to get my limits upped so I can do that.
Well, I mean, you've sent me, 15 bands before and it comes through instantly. I know it's not 50, but we're getting into high thousands and it comes through.
But when you want to move
problem.
Mass amounts of money, it's just they don't like
then,
it. They don't like you moving it out of your account.
The other week I was at my boys on a Friday night and we was just chilling and we wanted to do a little bit of gambling. And in the UK, you can't run like the bonus buys. You have to spin into the bonus or whatever. Yeah. So we went on Stake or Roulette or whatever, whacked a VPN on and done it on there. Bro, my deposit's taking like 2 hours. I can't even gamble because the Bitcoin's just taking so long. And I just think this is shit.
I tried to spend $1,000 yesterday at a UK store to deliver to the UK from here, blocked it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm honestly not smart enough to. I just think that a lot of crypto is player versus player, and obviously people do end up holding the bag. I feel like for me to win, you have to lose unless we both are lucky enough to get out early. And I think it's probably a mindset that will hold me back and I'll end up losing out when the next crypto bull run comes or something like that. But then I also wouldn't be surprised if by the time that happens, it's some new thing that everyone cares about. And I just don't see the government letting crypto become what people think it's going to become. They don't want to lose the control, just all of that stuff.
I want to spend so much time convincing them otherwise, because I promise you, and you'll hear it on this podcast and it will be embedded in the internet forever. If you don't switch your mindset, you're going to be incredibly regretful, because I used to think the same thing. I was very, I used to watch CNN every day with my mom. Like, I don't say that in any way, but like I was very programmed in a certain way. And the older I get, the more that I see it for what it is. It is They are printing money out the wazoo. They are just endlessly printing it. What is going to happen? I mean, just think about it. And the idea that, something new will come around it's not applicable here. And by the way, if you sent Bitcoin, you use the wrong coin. Bitcoin is infamously slow. So you should have used like a Litecoin or Ethereum. I promise you it would have happened in a couple of minutes. Bitcoin is congested and is known for taking hours on those transactions. So that, I think, is just, I want you to, if you just look at, and again, I'm not the right person to have this debate, but I want to maybe just close off this topic, just letting you know it's really important that you pay attention to this stuff and that you come in it with an open mindset, because this is going to be the difference between the people that I think really partake in the wealth transfer that's about to happen and the people that don't. And I like you because you're the reason why I'm here. And I want you to succeed. And you will succeed with or without this, but I think you will succeed exponentially more if you believe. They're printing too much money. The whole entire system, though it sounds like a conspiracy theorist, or I sound like a glitch in the matrix, as some people will call it, it is actually a scam. And I used to be a total anti-conspiracy theorist. Your whole matrix shit is nonsense. Wake up. You're just mad because you didn't make it in life. And I was one of those. And as I get older and as I see it for what it is, I actually think the only thing that's going to hedge your bet from a catastrophic scenario, which I think is inevitable at this point, is a peer-to-peer network of money.
I think to round it off, I agree with everything you're saying. I agree about the money printing. I agree about all this stuff. I just don't necessarily see crypto as the solution. And it's just not something that I'm passionate about or look to. And I think that obviously people will find many other ways to fight these issues outside of crypto. And I agree that they're printing all this money, but ultimately the government dictate what we do. And if they want to,
the government can't stop this. It's too far from that, because all I need to do is pop a laptop and I can run the network. It's impossible to stop. If I agree with you, if they were going to stop it, it would have been like 2017.
I will buy
It's
some.
unstoppable.
At the moment, I'm trying to invest more into crypto, but my bank is actually stopping me putting the money into crypto.
Yeah.
So surely they can stop it by putting up walls from the traditional institutions.
That's where they can. That's where they can.
And I will buy it, but I'm just buying little bits through FOMO. And, it's just not something that I'm all in. I'm not one of these crypto guys where it's, I'm going to put all my money in and then that's going to make me strike it big. But I will buy it because obviously I don't want to get left behind. And, if everyone's fucking with it, then I may as well just give it a go. But I'm just not proper bullish on it. And I'd probably rather just hold a stock or gold or watches, things like that.
It's fair. It's fair. I will tell you, I was a super stock guy. I've totally pivoted away from that because it's just it's all nonsense at the end of the day. One company will have these earnings, another won't. And it's all subject by an analyst. And it's still somebody else has to dictate my success. I think the paradigm that is Web3 and crypto is we dictate our success. And there's going to be scams and rug pulls all in between. But I mean, I bought Nikola stock. The guy pumped that thing to a $50 billion thing, and it was on a car that he was pulling on a towing machine that didn't even work. It's all a scam. I can point to scams all over the place. At the end of the day, if you're not going to believe in anything, there's one thing you should believe in, and it's Bitcoin. You might not need to believe in Ethereum or Solana or the rest of the bunch. That is, I think, subject to interpretation, though I think ETH and Bitcoin have pretty much solidified themselves. Bitcoin, just because of its longevity, 12 years now, or maybe even longer, 13 years now of just riding true, that is as close to digital gold as you get. And by the way, I've been buying gold as well. It's a pain to move. It's heavy on my back when I do it. I might as well get some Bitcoin that just hops in the ledger. I just want you to be a little more open-minded, because I hear that you're receptive of it, but I promise you, I used to be listening to people like me, oh, you crazy dude. I sold my house the other day. You know what I did with all the money? I put it all into Bitcoin.
I'm conflicted though. I don't think you're crazy. I just don't know.
It's early, right? So you probably are hesitant. I mean, you can look at videos or articles a few years ago when the internet was becoming a thing and people were going, oh, this is a scam, or you can't put your credit card details online.
Yeah.
And now
the whole dot-com bubble as well. Everyone thought
internet was stupid to say.
I guess though, I don't know exactly what you do, but I don't hear you talking about crypto. I don't hear you putting money in. So you must be on a similar wavelength to me. Otherwise you'd be going and doing it.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm open-minded to it, and I understand. I think my issue is a lack of education around it
That's
rather
true.
than a lack of belief, because I do believe heavily in it. And like, just to go back to the NFT thing, what you mentioned there briefly was this idea of an open wallet that everyone can see. I find that extremely fascinating because we almost see why people would want that already. You know, we have your verification tick on Instagram, or people want to show off their stuff. And now they can show off their stuff in the metaverse and verify that it belongs
Fuck
to them.
the metaverse.
No, but
though.
I have a question. I have a question
Go
for
on.
you, because do you believe 15 years from now, call it 20 years, no, call it 10 years from now, 10 years is more reasonable, more in our grasp. Do you believe that people will be interacting in a more interactive real life style video game than you see today? Like, do you believe you're going to put on a headset and go and hop into a meeting?
He hates this.
No,
as well,
it's
doesn't
funny
he?
because out of all of us, you're the gamer. You're the one that does all this stuff. You spend thousands of hours online.
Isn't
or you
GTA a
used to.
metaverse? Like,
Yeah,
think
it
about
is. It is.
It's
but
just a better version.
I feel like that there's levels to it though, yeah. And like I always do say this, that yes, I like games. I love to be online and you know, do this sort of stuff. But then I also think that like, even just when I'm taking a call and I'll be closing, I don't know, let's just say $100,000 deal, I'll be on Zoom and I just think this is shit. I'd rather just go and meet the person, have a coffee.
You'd rather fly and
No,
go meet, and
if
then-
it was possible, but I'm not saying that it is possible.
It
but
is.
I'm
You
just
put
saying
on your
that-
headset and you
yeah,
sit
I'm
with
just
them in
saying
the
that I
same
wish
room.
I could do it, but I feel like, you know, a lot of people, for example, GTA, yeah, you go on there, you've got no bread on there at all. You've got to make all this money. So you spend all this time doing all these heists and all of this stuff when you could have been putting that into your real life and becoming who you really want to be. And I think that the metaverse right now is absolutely shit. And I think if it gets good, that's worrying because so many people are just going to be on this thing all the time.
So many 3 billion gamers are playing games, are already doing it.
Yeah, of course, but
I used to spend
but
12 hours playing games. I know
so
you
did
the
I.
same.
But as
So
it
you're
gets,
already doing
but
it.
as it gets better, people are going to become more and more recluse. So people are already at this level playing GTA, which is one thing. And when GTA 6 comes out, I'm going to be smashing it for sure.
And you'll be making money when you're doing it. No, real money, real money.
When it becomes like I am literally in there and I am this character, then I might care about this character more than I care about myself. And I think that that's very likely. I think people are extremely susceptible to things like that. And I can see that the metaverse ruining young men's life.
It's already happened. People care more about their Instagram and the perception of how people think about their Instagram. I mean, I can tell you, I'll just be honest and open. I used to be on this Instagram, Rolls Royce, M5, Ferrari, everyone looking at me like, and I was miserable. But I cared so much what they thought about me.
Is that to his point though? He's saying it's going to happen, but it's incredibly sad.
It's incredibly sad, but you can't stop it.
Yeah, so I just think that...
And think about it. On the other side of the spectrum, there's already, I call it 50% of the world who's already incredibly sad. And this will make them happy because finally they can escape the reality and the bad card that they were dealt. Now, is that okay? No.
But I was dealt an incredibly, incredibly bad card, but turned it around myself through hard work and learning skills in my real life. If people are doing that in their fake life, I don't see that as a positive. And that's why I think this whole red pill thing is quite corny. I don't like to say red pill, blue pill, but these red pill guys and Andrew Tate that are helping people wake up and realize like, fuck, I need to level up my real life. I see that as a positive thing. And I just don't think that this online metaverse is the solution.
And look, I totally agree with you. And as somebody who's went through a similar childhood as you and I is speaking, there's something that I've realized as of recently, and Mark may agree with me. I actually now believe people are either born with it or they're not. I used to believe differently. I used to believe you could take anybody and you could turn them around. I don't believe that anymore. I believe you either have it and you have it in you and you're going to do it, or you're not. And there's two tsunamis happening. There's this tsunami of you need to get it together and there needs to be a revelation and you need to realize all of the things that you need to realize, which is like improving your life and just getting your life together, which is maybe some of the messaging that Andrew Tate preaches. And there's this other wave of just innovation and technology and the escape of reality. And then in between, you have two sets of people, the people that are destined for greatness and the people that just frankly are not. And on one side of the spectrum, the people that are not are going to go in this technological revolution and they're going to participate and they're going to save themselves, at least unconsciously, to what they think needs to be saved for themselves. And the other group, the people like you and I, we might participate, we might have fun, but we're going to continue on our path, persevering the way that we have to. my one thing to you is you have to have empathy for the people that are not like this. I realize this with direct family members, people that I love and would jump in front of a bullet for. And I'm like, why are you not getting it? Why? There's so many layers to mental illnesses, to trauma, to chemical imbalances that actually plague so many more people than people think. I mean, it's actually a virus that has spread that has probably been around since the beginning of humanity. You just have to understand there's this group here that this is really going to help. And it's sad to people like you and I, because it's like, man, just get up and do it. But there's a lot more variables than I think people give some of these people credit for. And you just have to understand that I believe there's a huge subsection of humanity that I think is going to benefit greatly from this escape. Will you and I, and probably the people on this podcast? No. Will we feel sorry for them, and will it be sad? Probably. But to them, it will be a saving grace. And I remember, I've seen it in real time. Video games, it's like an escape. It's an escape. You're already trapped in the system. Mark and I were just talking about it sooner. Once you're in the system, you're in the system. And they will eventually just have to die off for that cycle to be broken. And ultimately, I think that is going to be the solution for them, at least in the interim, to bring happiness, as sad as it sounds, because you and I are in the same playing field. You just have to understand people are not like us, right? If they were, the world would be different, right? Me and you are high school dropouts. Most people go through the system. They raise their hand when they have to ask a question. I don't raise my hand when I have to ask a question. I ask my question. You and I are probably the same, and probably the rest of the people in this room. Yet 99% of people raise their hand when they want a question, and they go through the pipeline. They go through high school, they go through college, and then they're just programmed to be an employee and to be a person who's a part of the system.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I just don't agree that you either have it or you don't. I feel like there are natural things within you that will help you. I feel like me being a natural communicator, loving to be around people and being confident and outgoing helps me to become successful. But if I didn't have that, there is still a way. And obviously I didn't know anything. So I went on YouTube and, done things to learn the skills that I needed.
You had that determination or that want to do it. And a lot of people just
because
do
life was
not
shit,
have that
bro.
drive.
There's a lot of people in your friendship group that, had the same opportunities.
Yeah.
And they're not where you are. You're the only one that struck it big. And that's because you had an inbuilt, you were born with something that made you become successful.
Yeah, but I believe that the boys can do it. Like
They can do
all
it,
of my
but
boys
will
can.
they?
Yeah, but then I would say that goes against his point though, if you either have it or you don't. I just feel like they don't have it right now, but I can see it in them that they can become it.
Having it is defined by the person who's willing to do it. And when I say have it, do you have the drive? Quantify having it as drive. People either have drive or they don't.
I feel like you need like a shocking moment though. I mean, all of my boys, they live with their mum and dad. They've got nice, relatively nice houses. Things are good for them. Whereas obviously for you and I, things were very different. So it's like, I have no choice but to make it. There is no way for me unless I make a way.
There's a lot of people out there that did have a nice upbringing. Curtis had a nice upbringing, but has he got drive? Yeah. One of the biggest drives we know, right? So, and I know loads of people that grew up, happy and safe, but they've got drive. They've got it.
So one of the things that I pride myself the most on is I'm just such a people observer. My situation is I lived in 14 different places in 10 years with 14 different people and 14 different households, from $10 million houses in the Hamptons to in the worst hoods in South Los Angeles or in New York, right? I've seen every side of it. And I think where I got my marketing prowess was through that experience. And I have people really, really close to me. And I've done everything in my power. And they've been through all of the adversities that I've been through and more. And I see other people from other side of the spectrum that have had the most powerful families. I used to completely think otherwise. And I've thought about this really deeply for the last year. I think you either have it in you and it's waiting to be brought out, or it's been brought out, or you don't.
Okay, so let's say that there's someone at home right now watching this podcast and they're like, I've got it in me, but I don't know what to do.
They're going to make it happen.
What would you say that they do right now?
Prepare themselves. That's what I did.
How?
I prepared myself when I was younger. I thought about my situation. I said, I'm going to be rich one day, but I don't know how. So what can I do right now to put myself in a position so that when the opportunity comes, I'm not going to drop the ball? I think many opportunities come throughout somebody's life where their lives can be changed. And in that opportunity, they are either going to yield it or they're going to fumble it. And if you extract what I think makes what makes a person who's going to yield that opportunity, I think the ability to speak well is a really important one. Read, listen. You are what you consume. Turn off the music and turn on a podcast. Maybe this one, right? Learn how to communicate, because whether it's an intimate relationship or a business partner or a deal that you want to close, it starts and stops with your ability to speak. It's the best thing that you can do, right? People think of me, and I think I can go toe to toe with any Ivy League kid. And I'm a high school dropout at Fairfax High School in my sophomore year, right? My ability to speak. A second one is learn how to be decisive be decisive. Being indecisive is the worst thing that you can be. I mean, flipping and flopping back with ideas when you have to make a critical decision is the recipe for failure. Whether you're starting an online business, a software as a service, a servicing business, the second you start being indecisive in your pricing or your decision making, do I fire him? Do I not? Is a route to failure. How can you prepare for that? I did things as egregious as when I go to a restaurant, I look at the menu once and I make a decision.
This is funny. This is a conversation we have all the time because these two are so bad at making decisions.
I feel like I'm not as bad.
I make a decision straight away.
I'm not as bad.
Well, you say you want to do. Well, you say that you're going to do something, and then you don't actually
I'm
follow
worse
up
for
on
that.
that thing.
I'm worse for that.
So I think you need to stick to your word, and then Tom needs to be faster at making decisions.
And I'm working on it, right?
Yeah,
because
you are,
the last
to be
couple,
fair.
because I agree, it is vital for success, and I know that. So consciously now, I do the same. That's why I smiled when you said the restaurant thing. When we've gone out for dinner the last couple of times, or when we've ordered food, I've said count down to 10, and I'm going to decide, and I stick to it, and I don't look back.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm training myself.
It's the little things like that. And you'd be surprised because it's about being prepared for the opportunity and being able to strike when it comes. So many times people go and the life-changing deal is there and they get up there and they stutter and they don't know how to convey their thoughts correctly. The other person challenges them, they fold, and then the deal is done and the opportunity withers away for another couple of years until it comes back around, right? And so, speaking well, being decisive, having empathy, that's a weird one, but I really believe that being empathetic is going to serve you well. And I won't maybe take a deep dive. I'll probably reframe that to saying, have a driving purpose, right? These are things that you can kind of train yourself to do. Like, what are you here on this world to do? As corny as it sounds, and people might make fun of me, but those people making fun of me are not people that I have in my circles anyway. But like, I want to change the world, dude. As crazy as that drives me. That's driven me since I was 16 years old. I used to cry up until I was 15 when I saw a homeless dog and a homeless man. I'm like, dude, I can't keep watching this shit. In LA, it's like a Skid Row is like unlike anything anybody's ever seen if you've been. And so, these are driving factors for me. So what's your purpose? What's your motivation when you wake up every morning? Because if you think about that motivation, that's going to drive you and bring that opportunity to you closer and closer. Can you speak well? Are you decisive? Probably maybe 3 things that I would do if I was a young kid, boy or girl listening to this, and I knew I was going to be successful. I knew I know I have it in me, but I don't have that opportunity. I don't have that what. Get technically savvy. Here's another good one. This is not applicable to me, but man, if you are not exploring AI and ChatGPT and trying to rip that thing apart, you are a fool. I mean, if I was a kid, and even now I should be, maybe this is an advice to myself, but everybody in this room that wants to stay ahead of the curve should be spending some real time every single day learning this stuff. I mean, this is super brain power like the world and society and humanity has never seen. This tool is a machine.
How would you recommend people go about learning it in the most efficient way? Because a lot of people will be making YouTube videos like the top 5 AI this, but some of it can be a load of shit. And obviously they just want the ad rev and stuff. So how can people learn for real?
I believe it starts with exploration, of self. Just go down there, and if you've got something that you need to study with, or you have a test coming up, or an objective that you're trying to accomplish, just go on ChatGPT and leverage it to help you solve your problem. Identify a problem you have in your life. Maybe identify 3. Go to ChatGPT. Give it $20. It's the best $20 you'll ever give anything, and have it try to solve some of your problems and see if the answers make sense for you. And then obviously, if you have a passion, maybe go down the rabbit hole of editing or content creation and a slew of other things. But I mean, AI, part of me is actually pretty scared. I don't know where the world is going to go in the next 20 years because I believe the next 5 are going to be absolutely incredible. I think we're going to break through in ways that we've never even seen. I think they're going to find new things about the world and God and conceptualization that I think we've been asking these questions for thousands of years. I believe it's going to crack that code. And you want to be on the forefront of this, and you do not want to be that person that's, ChatGPT, huh? I mean, because or whatever the software, whatever you want to participate in, you need to be ahead of the curve. And I can tell you unequivocally, if I'm listening to this now, I'm loading up a ChatGPT if it's not already loaded, and I'm giving this thing a crack.
I'm glad you said that, because when you were mentioning those things that people need to have or be doing, the one thing I was hoping you would add is just do stuff. Because I think a lot of time people will sit at home and go, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I want to do. So they'll just do that. They'll sit at home and do nothing instead of thinking, well, I'm just going to try a bit of this. I'm just going to spend 4 hours exploring this. It might not turn into money or a job or anything, but it's by doing that, you go down these rabbit holes of watching these YouTube videos, and that might lead to that, which might lead to that, which might lead to the thing that kicks you off. And I think people are too precious about, okay, well, what's the end goal? Fuck the end goal. Just do stuff.
Yeah, make a website, make an e-commerce store. You might not have a budget to run an ad or to do something. Make a piece of content, right? There's this weird shame that I think is just instilled in people, or worry or scare or fear. Just do. That was good advice. Just do something. I love that because people are so
Clip that.
freaking lazy.
I think earlier we skated over the fact that you paid over $2 million for Pudgy penguins. How did you value the company at that stage? How did you know it was worth that?
It had a community and a culture, and if you just have a knack for those two things, which I think is my strong suit, you knew that it was an obvious bet. Now, if you extract the finances, the business was making $300,000-$400,000 a month on autopilot. So buying a business for $2.5 million, it's making $300,000 to $400,000 net.
Why would they sell it?
Because the community wanted them out.
Right. Okay.
Because they came around. It quite literally was Bored Apes, CryptoPunks, and Pudgy penguins. CryptoPunks went off to being $500,000 a piece. Bored Apes in 12 months ended up being worth $500,000 a piece and giving you over $1 million in free shit, airdropping it to your wallet. And then on the other side of the spectrum, the one that was it was the third head to the three-headed beast, was down 75%, and these guys were like, get these guys out of here. So we, by technicality standpoint, a business that's netting $400,000 a month is probably worth, a software technology business with no overhead, that multiple is probably worth at least $20 million.
What were they doing wrong?
Nothing that they couldn't control. They were just 18-year-olds that had never started a business before, that ended up becoming, making millions of dollars off of this new trend that they were technically savvy enough to, be on the forefront of.
And how much is it worth now?
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions. That's crazy. So I think a lot of people will be interested in how you made that first $2 million. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because they're probably thinking, I'd love to do that, but I just need to make that first. I need to make my first million on my first 2 million.
Yeah, thankfully, I've been able to make tens of millions of dollars before that purchase. So that was just out of a carve out of some of the money that I had made. I think my first $10,000 a month was actually not off of anything online. I was throwing, at 17 years old, underground rap shows in South Central Los Angeles.
Wow.
I would find broken down or rundown warehouses. I would book the venue. I would book artists, and I would make money on the margin. And I had a hot streak where for about 4 or 5 months in a row, I made about $10,000 a month.
And how did you get into that? What made you think that that's the route you wanted to go down at the time?
So the first $1,000 I ever made was when my friend Nate told me he wanted to throw a party in Sherman Oaks in the Valley. I found the venue, we promoted it, and between me and 3 other guys, we distributed $5,000 that we made that night, $1,250 each. I then circled back with him and I said, well, how do we do this at a big scale? And he said, well, probably the next step is getting some artists. I was actually one of the first people to book a group called Sesh Hollow Water Boys, which is like an underground rap group. Suicide Boys, who ended up being one of the biggest Spotify artists. Playboy Cardi and a couple others before they were anything or anything really big. And so at the time, they were $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a show. We would get a venue with 1,000 people and we charge $20 a ticket, and the rest is history.
Would you say that you finding these artists was lucky, or do you have an eye for spotting talent and big trends before they come to be?
So being in LA and being a kid in the gutter, skateboarder, chaos maker in the city of Los Angeles, you have a pretty good finger on the pulse as to this music scene. And we were optimizing not for big artists, but artists that we knew all the kids in school were listening to, because those are the kids that were buying the tickets. And so from my perspective, it was a little bit of luck. There was a lot of luck involved. But actually finding the artist entailed two things: having a good finger on the pulse, which we just naturally had, and a little bit of Instagram hustling and paying them, upfront, which is what they wanted, and some trust. But those two things, I think, helped get us our underground rap show business up and running.
If this is doing so well for you, why did you stop doing it? Why are you not doing these shows today?
Yeah, me and Nate and I, who's now really close with the Rolling Loud crew, Rolling Loud would have been the end goal of what we were doing. That would have been the North Star. I was 17 at the time, and I was working a job call at Ring, so the tech startup that was the Ring doorbell, as one of the early employees. And I was doing that I was doing the shows in the evening and that during the day. The problem is every time I was signing an agreement for one of these shows, every single time they got popped by the police because they were illegal shows at illegal venues. I was getting away with it because my signature wasn't binding. I was such a tall guy that I guess the people who owned the locations, again, this is in the hood, so they're not really checking your IDs or going through those rabbit holes. They're just saying, sign this piece of paper, give us your money, and if things go awry, you're responsible. Every time that the cops came, I gave them my ID. I told them that I was 17 and I'd be off to the races. When I turned 18, I knew that was all going to stop. And so I got sent to the police station a couple times, but I knew I was getting away with it because of my age. Once I knew I turned 18, I knew that the next time that I did this, and if I got caught, there would be some serious charges. And I was not willing to do that.
Would you recommend young entrepreneurs fake it till they make it? Because I know when I first started my videography business, I would say I could film a wedding before I could actually film one. And then during the time when I've closed the client, I would then go and watch lots of videos and learn how to do the thing before actually doing it. So I guess I was faking it and then closing the gap before I actually had to do the thing.
There's this imaginary thing that this weird side of the internet will try to force on you and portray this high level of morality, integrity. And for some reason, that does not yield a high integrity individual. But I can't point a single entrepreneur that has seen real success that didn't have to fake it at some point until they made it. I mean, it is literally a part of the game. Yet there's just, and the reason why I bring up that whole first part is because I don't want entrepreneurs listening to this thinking to themselves, there's this notion of having to do it X way, when in reality, those people that are telling you to do it a certain way haven't done it. I know people that have started maid businesses or lawn mowing businesses and didn't employ a single maid or lawnmower or gardener. They simply charged $30 an hour for the lawn services and paid a guy that they knew $20. Right. And then just made money on the margin.
I guess it's like drop servicing in a way.
Drop serving. The art of the middleman is not to be underestimated, whether that's drop shipping, drop servicing. I mean, there's a plethora of ways that you can, actual millionaires are made on the daily basis off of just finding your way in the middle. And that's not low integrity. That's just how business is done. My story is to quantify it in a simple frame. I'm throwing these underground rap shows. I'm working at a tech startup called Ring. Ring grows exponentially during the day. I mean, it basically goes from a 20-person team to a 500-person team. I'm on the forefront of that growth. I'm seeing it happen in real time. I'm amazed by it. I'm throwing these underground rap shows. They're great. I turn 18 years old and I see the writing on the wall. The rap shows have to stop because they're illegal. And now I'm going to be legally liable for these rap shows. And on the other side of it, I saw that Ring was hiring Harvard and Stanford graduates. And I was a high school dropout from Fairfax High School, a mile, 10, 15 miles away. And that there was really no room for growth in the company for me. So I buy a $299 online course. The course was pretty poor in its material, but it showed a couple things that I think changed everything, which was this ability to create an e-commerce store and drop ship without having any inventory. I had found success pretty early on, basically selling jewelry, hip hop jewelry, to people who wanted to look like their favorite rapper. And so the idea is I knew I wanted Kendrick Lamar and Lil Pump and all of these rappers to promote my products because America was on the precipice of having rap music be the leading genre in the country. But I knew I couldn't afford them because a post from them cost $10, $15, $20, $30,000. So what I did is I went to their fan pages and I went to lilpump.fanpage and I said, he had 100,000 followers. Lil Pump had 10 million. So, only 1% of his following. But I said, I want to pay you for a promotion. He charged me $30. I posted the promotion on his post. He made me $500 back. So I'd crack the code. So all day I would rinse and repeat. I'd go to all the rappers' fan pages, and I'd basically just hustle $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a day. As I started to make more money, I started to go into the actual rappers. Then I'd pay the rappers $50,000. They'd make me $400,000 back, and then I would rinse and repeat. And then eventually I decided that the rappers and the influencers that I was using to promote the product were actually the secret weapon. And so I sold the business. I then went to the influencers and the rappers and the celebrities, and I said, I want to build merchandise and brands around your likeness, and you are promoting it. We worked out a deal. I had at one point over 100 influencers and celebrities under my roster, and I would basically take products, ship them to America, and I would then distribute them to the fans that were buying those products. But they weren't branded products. They were generic products that I felt like could sell to the audience. Now, the key was, again, you guys heard this conversation a little bit earlier, I wasn't optimizing for brand integrity. I was optimizing for cash flow, right? And margin. So this is where things messed up, because technically what I should have done is I should have built a Fashion Nova, because this was Fashion Nova before Fashion Nova, right? I should have took all of this influencer traffic, and instead of having 100 individual stores, I should have pointed them to one big conglomerate. Instead, I was like, well, there's no work other than fulfilling the orders and having customer service for each store. That was automatic because I had a partner who was handling that. All I needed to do was broker the deal. The influencer drove the traffic and made the money, and I kicked back in Ball Harbor, which is 30 minutes away from here, in a $15 million house, sitting by the pool collecting my check. That was the mistake. That's where the poor man syndrome and me being young and me not understanding really the opportunity at hand and just trying to make cash ultimately was my demise. But that business ended up generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. I then realized the writing on the wall after my friends had built 9-figure brands in equity. I then went to go and start my own companies, one of which was not one that I started, but I became the biggest investor in CMO, which was a company called Gel Blaster, which is the water Orbeez gun.
Right.
So that little thing that was gone viral, that business basically goes from 0 to $100 million in revenue in 2 years. All the while, I have a friend who reaches out to me who launches an NFT project. He said, Luca, I can't make this work. I need your help marketing it. I market it. I see how much that generates and the opportunity there. I then also see the drawbacks, because then quickly after he releases an NFT project, it 10x's from the price. Everyone's euphoric. Then it drops 50%, and then everyone starts turning around on him. I'm like, okay, this is a unique opportunity, a unique situation. I was like, I want to buy it from you. He doesn't sell it to me. I then see the opportunity in COVID. This is an interesting one. You'll appreciate it. That the slots for these Instagram posts would go out the roof, because course gurus, e-commerce brands, NFT projects, crypto projects were basically just yearning for this digital attention. So I took $1 million and I went to all of the big pages on Instagram, or at least the ones that I had access to, and I said, I want to buy all of your slots, meaning if somebody wants to advertise on your page, they have to go through me. But I'm going to give you, $100,000, $200,000 up front to basically have all of your slots for the month. What happened is prices went from $10,000 a post to $100,000 a post. It was absolutely insanity.
Could these people not have just fucked you over though?
They totally, but I papered them up. Like this was not like a bullshit. This was like, hey, you own this page. I'm wiring you $200,000. I'm papering your ass up. And then they were pissed ultimately because they knew I was what I had given them for a month worth of slots, 30 slots, I was selling in one Instagram post, right? So I'd basically make my money back within the first couple of days. And then that happens. I make a killing there, stock market, crypto, COVID, that craziness. And then
Just quickly on that, is it kind of like a rent to rent situation where you might rent a house and then Airbnb it? So you're giving them the money up front and then you're making more upside because you're taking on all the risk, but ultimately you're selling it for 10 times the price.
It's a good analogy. Almost think of it like a billboard, right? Like you own a billboard. I don't own the billboard, but I'm coming to you and I'm saying, I want the billboard for the year. I pay you 10 grand a month for it. I then have somebody on the back end that's paying me 50 grand a month for it.
See, I said this at the beginning. You just see shit though. Like I can just tell that you just see stuff.
Yeah, on one side, but it's a pro and a con. So it was great for making a lot of money, right? So, but it was not good for brand equity. And then it comes down to the mindset shift that I had maybe 2.5 years ago or 3 years ago was, do I want to be in the business of making $4, $5, $6, $7, $10 million a year? Or do I want to be in the business of building a business for 4 or 5 years and selling it for $500 million? One makes exponentially more money, though the 4, 5, 6, 7, $10 million a year. Now, granted, you have to get there first, and then you have that mindset shift. But I had sat with a guy, I can't say his name, but he owns one of the biggest healthcare companies in the world. He's a billionaire, and he said, Luca, you can make 10, 20, $50 million a year. You will never make as much money as I made until you build a real business. And he said, you can work 20 years and make $10 million a year. And it still won't even pale into comparison in the money that I've made in the last 10 years building this one company. And that's the difference between being rich and being wealthy. I think ultimately is built on, do you have brand equity? Because you can only sell people so much, right? You see it all the time. There's a lot of young entrepreneurs that do this really well. They make a ton of cash, but you made the mistake by not pointing that cash into a central hub or a central company. Probably one of the only guys who did it well was Alex Becker with Hyros. It was like one of the few. Grant is probably a couple. There's the couple guys that actually did it well, and then everybody else kind of just made their millions and faltered off.
Is there room for both though? Because obviously at the start, it's very difficult to build IP if you're not making upfront cash flow with that company. You might be selling it for $1 billion in a few years' time, but right now you're not taking any money out of that. So is there almost a stage where at the beginning you need the cash flow, and then once you've got the security and that cash flow to maybe invest into an IP-based business as well, then you can kind of make that transition?
It depends, right? One of the things that Elon Musk did that was super underestimated is how much money he spent on his personal brand when he sold PayPal, right? That was like a huge thing. And then he ran it back. It's a catch-22 because I could also probably argue that maybe some of the opportunities and the success that I've been able to bring Pudgy Penguins was built off of all that cash that I had made and those vacations and those places that I was able to be and those relationships that I was able to build. So it is a catch-22. In hindsight, though, I can only speak from personal experience. If I could have rewinded time, I would have done things differently.
Being one of the first employees of Ring, what did you learn from being in that startup environment?
Oh man, that dude Jamie was a dog, dude. And so Jamie was the CEO and the founder. He had a wall in the office, and he was holes in all the walls. He would punch them.
Really?
Yeah. And so there was a falling out with, this is not really public information, but I don't mind sharing it because there was a falling out with me and one of the members of the Pudgy Penguin team about a year ago. We're 20 months in. And he was like, "You're too tough. You're too," and I was like, what? Like, I think we're just cut from a different cloth because I didn't think I was. Now, granted, I took some executive coaching. I realized that maybe the way that I approached things was not right and was not correct. And I apologized for the way that I behaved. I had a lot of pressure on me, and so I acted a certain way, but I wasn't punching holes in walls, dude. And at some point, there's like a certain level of like, get it together and show up and show out. And the culture with us is show up or show out. Like, I don't have this culture of just like meander. If you want to just, gossip and complain and say this and that, then our company is not the company for you. We create a company full of winners. And I treat this like a basketball team. I'm here to win the championship. And if you don't want to win the championship and you are not performing, right, then you are getting traded to another team or you are getting benched. Most likely getting traded to another team because I don't want to pay for you to sit on the bench. And so the point of the matter is we have an objective. And the crazy part about our business is if I do my job, the people who hold my NFTs, like I have a unique opportunity to change many people's lives at one time. Like we're talking thousands of people. So I have people that are super invested with their hard-earned cash into this business, right? Just because they like collecting it or whatever it is. Investing is the wrong word, but you get what I'm saying. They invest in the collectible, whatever it may be. And I have the opportunity to drive enough demand and hype around this collectible that maybe one day could be worth, more than what they purchased it for. And that's a huge responsibility if you think about it. That's not to be underestimated.
Thank you very much for coming on the show today. Yeah, very interesting. Where can people find you?
Just follow me, Luca Netz on Twitter or Luca Netz on Instagram. And thank you for having me.
If you guys enjoyed the podcast, make sure to smash that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. And we will see you next Wednesday with a brand new podcast. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from Pudgy Penguins and all of us.